The ongoing manhunt in not one but two separate cases of inmates on the run. First, brand new video from police in Huntsville, Texas, showing the capture of two more of those 10 inmates who escaped from that New Orleans jail on May 16th. This makes 8 of the 10 back behind bars, but 2 remain on the run. Derek Groves and Antoine Massey, both considered armed and dangerous. And as of this morning, authorities have charged 13 people in connection with their escape, including a maintenance worker with the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office. Then, of course, there's a brand new manhunt, one that started Sunday in Arkansas. A former small-town police chief escaped prison while serving decades-long sentences for murder and rape. We do not know exactly how 56-year-old Grant Hardin orchestrated his breakout, at least not yet, but it appears that he walked out of the prison wearing a disguise. CNN's Ryan Young has the latest on these ongoing manhunts, plus a closer look at the dark past of that escaped former police chief.
Newly released body camera footage showing the moments 2 more escaped inmates from a New Orleans jail were taken back into custody. Their capture in Huntsville, Texas, just north of Houston. The other inmate caught in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, just an hour from New Orleans. That makes 3 inmates in the last 24 hours, now back behind bars, more than a week after their shocking escape. 2 of the 10 fugitives are still at large and considered armed and dangerous and street savvy. Antoine Massey, with a record of breaking out of jail, this one his 3rd escape. And Derek Groves, who was convicted of killing 2 people. U.S. Marshals say they probably aren't acting alone.
In hiding or somebody's helping them. It's not as easy as just driving around looking for them.
Another escaped inmate capturing headlines today, this time in Arkansas, just south of Missouri. Authorities say Grant Hardin, a former small-town police chief turned convicted killer and rapist, managed to get out of an Arkansas prison in broad daylight Sunday.
He's extremely dangerous. He's already proven that he has no moral core.
The 56-year-old has been serving a 30-year sentence for first-degree murder and 2 25-year sentences for 2 counts of rape, according to prison and court documents. Officials say Hardin walked out of a controlled and secure entry point of the prison disguised in, quote, makeshift outfit designed to mimic law enforcement.
He's a sociopath. Prison's not full of people who are all bad. It's full of a lot of people who just do bad things. Grant's different.
Hardin was profiled in 2 TV docuseries that aired on Investigation Discovery, owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, CNN's parent company. In 2019, the docuseries, Shattered, features Hardin's wife believing police had the wrong man.
Please, somebody believe me.
Then in 2023, the true crime documentary, Devil in the Ozarks, profiled both of Hardin's violent crime cases.
This is the story of one of the most evil and dangerous criminals I have ever prosecuted, because the person does not at first appear to be that way.
He was right there and nobody knew.
Ongoing investigation. Look, I just got off the phone with a couple sources. They say the tips for Crime Stoppers have been coming in, especially in that New Orleans case. They are getting better information. They feel like they're closer to trying to find the 2 men who are still out there. But look, there's an ongoing investigation in what happened into that jail. And of course, now when you add Arkansas into it, there's a lot of questions that you have yet to be answered. We have to figure all this out. Too many folks getting out of jail, especially when it's not scheduled. The manhunt's active and ongoing. Jake?
All right, Ryan Young, thanks so much. Joining us now, Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams. Mr. Williams, you've caught 8 of the 10 that escaped. Do you have any leads on where those remaining 2 escaped inmates might be?
We've got a lot of leads. The Crime Stopper tips are coming in. My office, the digital forensics team, has been scouring through hours and hours of jail calls using some AI software to figure out who they were in contact with the night before, hours before, to figure out where they may have been heading. Their circle is tightened as people who are assisting are being arrested. That circle is tightening around these last 2.
So you personally prosecuted one of the 2 inmates still on the loose, Derek Groves. He was convicted of 2 charges of second-degree murder, 2 charges of attempted second-degree murder. When we spoke last week, you said you were personally afraid and feared for the safety of your staff as well as witnesses. Do you feel that adequate protective steps have been taken?
Everything that we can do has been done. I do believe that it's necessary for the city of New Orleans to step up. I'm talking about municipal government and add or augment security around the courthouse. for jurors, for potential witnesses in other cases. This is going to absolutely have a ripple effect on other witnesses, other jurors, and we want to make sure that they realize that there's adequate protection at a courthouse when they come to testify and do their service.
So you recently said that the New Orleans sheriff, Susan Hudson, waited nearly a week to have the scene of the jailbreak processed for evidence by crime lab technicians. And you said that she only did so at the request of the district attorney. What impact did that processing delay have? And why do you think it was never officially requested?
You know, it boggles the mind that it would not have been done in the moments or within an hour of this escape. The chief of police quickly got the head of the crime lab over. But every single moment that goes by when a scene is not processed, you're diminishing the value and reliability and the chances of actually being able to recover good evidence. And that's a very serious problem. It's vitally important that we catch these fugitives, whether it's Arkansas, whether it's Louisiana, but it's also critically important that we know how they got out and who helped them get out. And we can't wait until they're in custody to do that.
So Sheriff Hudson called the jailbreak a failure, which is obvious and true. She suspended her re-election campaign. What are your thoughts on her performance? Do you think she should step down before the end of her term?
Look, I mean, that's a job and a decision for other folks to make. My job right now is collecting every piece of evidence that's still available, working with my team to go through these jail calls to see if we can figure out where these last two are. The politics of how this unfolds will be determined by the people of New Orleans. This was one of the biggest failures I've ever seen in terms of care, custody, and control, which is the only job of a jailer in any municipality.
So as of this morning, authorities have charged 13 people in connection to the escape, including a maintenance worker with the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Department. How deep do you think this goes? Was there a conspiracy that was long planned?
There certainly was a plan. How long that plan was, we don't know. We sent a preservation letter out requiring her to preserve all logs, records, videos, so that we can figure out who was where and when, to see how deep this goes so that we can answer that question you just asked with real specificity and prove it to a jury in a court of law.
Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams, thanks so much for coming back. We appreciate you coming and answering our questions. Let's bring in CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller, who joins me now here in studio. So 3 escapees remain on the run. 2 from the New Orleans prison break, 1 from Arkansas. How serious is the danger to the public, do you think?
Well, it's always serious because there's 2 things that play against each other, no matter which end of this tube you're squeezing. First, you target their friends and associates, anything that could be a support network, to cut them off. Then you start to squeeze the friends and associates. That's why there's, a dozen arrests for aiding and abetting there. But at the same time you do that, then you increase the potential motivation for, I've got to get a weapon, I've got to carjack somebody, I've got to get a car, I've got to put distance there. So they're very dangerous.
How common are prison breaks? I mean, when you see that image of the former Arkansas sheriff appearing to be wearing a disguise, we can bring that up. Does it make you suspect he had inside help or outside help?
He is perhaps the most interesting of all of these. I mean, if you look at the bar graphs of prison breaks, they go up and down depending on conditions, usually about when staffing is very low and budgets are being cut. But 91% of escaped prisoners get captured in a relatively short time. But here's something about Grant Hardin. He was the chief of police in Gateway, Arkansas. He was on the police department in Huntsville, in Fayetteville, in Eureka Springs. But at the time he allegedly committed, well, not allegedly, he's pled guilty.
He's convicted, yeah.
The 1997 murder where he shot a man point blank, stopped on the side of the road, motive still unknown. He was working for the Arkansas Department of Corrections. So he has not only the talents and training and instincts of a lawman who's been a criminal most of his career, but he also has an insider's knowledge as a corrections officer of how everything works there. And whether you're talking about the career criminals in New Orleans or this police chief who escaped in Arkansas, every minute of every day, if you're doing a life sentence, somewhere in the back of your mind or in the front, you're thinking of, how do I escape? You're watching for every opportunity. He clearly put that knowledge to work.
So you said 91% of people who escape from jail or prison are caught. So that means 9% get away forever?
Well, not forever. 91% are caught within a relatively
Caught within a relative short amount of time. Okay.
You know, there are those who figure out how to disappear, which is increasingly harder with things like not just fingerprints, but now DNA, the fact that we have this digital dust trail that we all leave behind us. But some people manage to disappear.